All right, guys, welcome back. It is August 7th, 2025, a Thursday morning, and I'm sitting on my back porch here. I feel like, even though I'm in the shade, I feel like I still have to squint to some degree. I could not do this outdoors. The sun is so bright, and the light is still bouncing off everything, making me feel like I have my eyes half shut, even though it probably doesn't appear that way to you guys. It feels that way to me. Anyway, I didn't get a video made yesterday. I'm really disappointed with that because I've been trying to upload a video a day just for the challenge, just to see what would happen and to see what kind of creativity I could eke out if I really pressed myself. I knew that there would be, better videos than others, but I just wanted to see what would happen. Didn't happen yesterday. I was going to upload a night walk tour I did in Gainesville, Georgia 3 months ago, or no, not 3 months ago, whenever it was, in March. It was in March. And I couldn't get it made because I realized that there was something wrong with my audio. It had something to do with my microphone clacking against my zipper on my jacket at the time, and it really just irritated me so much. I can mask that with music, which I've done before with other videos, but it takes a long time. So there was no video yesterday. And I've tried to stay on this roll here. I got this email this morning from YouTube giving me my month in review, and I was very pleased with what I saw. I got 3,868 new subscribers. That's great. I haven't seen anything like that in a long time. I don't even know if I've ever... this might be a record breaker for me. I don't know. I had a total of over 100,000 views and over 312,000 minutes watched. That's pretty good. And I had 26 new uploads. So I posted 26 times in August. I don't think I've ever done that much before. I'm very pleased with that. And so, maybe I can make up for that. Maybe I can still hit 30 in August. I don't know. How many days are there in August? 30 or 31? Okay, it doesn't matter. I can find out later on. But I'm hoping I can beat that. Maybe at least have 27, right? I'm going to have to do something about that. Anyway, if you want to know what I have in my beard today, I am wearing Fresh Beards 1920 beard oil. I'm not an affiliate with Fresh Beards. I don't have a code I can give you, but I love their beard oils and butters, and they have a slew of different kinds. I like every single one that I've ever had from them. I have, I think, maybe 6 different kinds from them. 1920 is barbershop scent. Oh, so good. And I like these bottles like this. I guess it has what they call a restrictor cap. So you don't, it's not the kind you squeeze. You just kind of like give yourself a drop at a time on the side. And I like that because it's very, very controlled, much easier to contain, and I don't have to worry about these leaking at all. I've had them for a while and they last forever, but you should check out Fresh Beards. I'm going to be only trimming my beard or cleaning it up once a month for a while to let it grow back out. Not sure where I'm going with it yet, but we'll find out. We'll find out what's going on with this. I used to, when I had a bigger beard, I posted on Instagram far more than I do now. I hardly ever post a picture now. And I said back then that the only reason I'm posting pictures of myself is because of the beard. It's not just because of me, it's because of the beard, right? And I started having doubts about that. Am I becoming vain or narcissistic? I mean, because that, I could easily see how that could be perceived, right? And after I cut the beard off, I realized I don't really post any pictures anymore. So it really was just about the beard, and I get it. That's why I look at all these other beard pictures. It's not really because about the individual. It's just because I want that particular kind of beard, or I respect it or admire it, whatever. I like the way it's cut, the aesthetic. It's really nice. But yeah, so as the beard grows out more, I'll probably be posting more pictures as we go along, maybe creating a few more cleanup videos, as time goes on. So anyway, yeah, speaking of Instagram, I'm going to share something with you here. Very interesting about them, and this is very, very short. Okay, so the online photo sharing service Instagram launched in 2010. 2010, 15 years ago. Wow, it doesn't seem like it. I remember when it first came out. And I had no idea how to use it. It took me a while to get on it. And within 2 years, its users had uploaded more than 1 billion photos. Fearing that Instagram might pose a threat to Facebook's position as the main place to share photos online, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg made an offer that Instagram couldn't refuse. Ownership of the company for $1 billion in cash and Facebook stock, and the promise that Instagram could continue to operate independently. The deal made Instagram's 13 employees very rich. $1 billion divided by 13, that's a lot of money. But what if they waited to sell? Just 2 years after the sale, the investment banking from Citigroup, Inc. valued Instagram at $35 billion. And I think Mark Zuckerberg would have paid it. Maybe. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he would have. $35 billion. The vast difference between 1 million and 1 billion is almost unfathomable. Okay? But from 1 billion to 35 billion is even crazier. Oh my word. I mean, I guess you could have more money than you could ever know what to do with. But how do you think that sat with the former employees? Well, I mean, I guess maybe they were still employees of Instagram, but the ones who were involved, those 13 employees, how do you think that sat with them? I'm sure they're happy still. Don't get me wrong, but they're thinking, what if themselves? Yeah. Anyway, so I went down a rabbit hole on YouTube with shorts. Well, not even just shorts. The shorts led to longer content, of course. But I started, for some reason, I got suggested videos of World War II veterans talking about their service and their experiences, and they were just retelling some intense moments during World War II, wherever they happen to be. And it just makes you have so much respect, at least it does for me, so much respect for seemingly normal individuals. These guys don't look like the tough guy image that you see Navy SEALs typically represented as, or even anybody else in military. Everybody's like tough, tough, tough. Well, these guys just look like everyday normal guys. And if you look at old pictures of recruits back then, they just looked like the everyday man. And yet the stories they would tell make you realize that these guys were some badasses. I mean, they just did what they had to do. And you could tell by looking at them and the way they talked, this is not who they would have been in everyday life. If they had never gone to the war, they would have never done these things. And if you met them, well, a lot of them are gone now. A lot of them are gone. But if you met them, you would never ever think that they ever were involved in skirmishes like this unless they told you. And so, yeah, I was really, I just kept watching one video after the other. And I've been fortunate enough to have been born in a time that when I was a little kid, a lot of those World War II veterans were probably like in their 40s, right? They're probably in their 40s, maybe 50s. And so I've got to know quite a few of them. But even as I've gotten older, they become fewer and fewer. And the ones I've talked to, man, they've got some emotionally impactful stories that you just can't forget. You can't get them out of your head once they tell you. And unfortunately, this younger generation will probably never know what it's like to have talked to somebody like that, unless, they're talking to a Vietnam veteran. But even those guys are far and few between now. A lot of them dealt with like Agent Orange, so many of them have passed on already. It's a different generation, and they've got. I've talked to a few of them too, but it's totally different. The recounting of war stories is completely different between Vietnam and World War II. Anyway, this has to do with something that occurred this day in history, and that is George Washington created the Purple Heart on this day. Now here's what it says. On August 7th, 1782, not 1982. On August 7th, 1782, in Newburgh, New York, General George Washington, the commander-in-chief of the Continental Army, creates the Badge for Military Merit, a decoration consisting of a purple heart-shaped piece of silk edged with a narrow binding of silver with the word merit stitched across the face in silver. It would come to be widely known as the Purple Heart. The badge was to be presented to soldiers for any singularly, can't hardly say that, meritorious action, and permitted its wearer to pass guards and sentinels without challenge. The honoree's name and regiment were also to be inscribed in a Book of Merit. Washington's Purple Heart was awarded to only 3 known soldiers during the Revolutionary War. Now, you might want to know these, because if you do trivia night anywhere, there might be a slim chance these names might come up. Here they are: Elijah Churchill, William Brown, and Daniel Bissell Jr. The Book of Merit was lost. That's too bad. And the decoration was largely forgotten until 1927, when General Charles P. Summerall, the U.S. Army Chief of Staff, sent an unsuccessful draft bill to Congress to revive the Badge of Military Merit. In 1931, Summerall's successor, General Douglas MacArthur, took up the cause, hoping to reinstate the medal in time for the bicentennial of George Washington's birth. On February 22, 1932, Washington's 200th birthday, the U.S. War Department announced the creation of the Order of the Purple Heart. In addition to aspects of Washington's original design, the new Purple Heart also displays a bust of Washington and his coat of arms. The Order of the Purple Heart, the oldest American military decoration for military merit, is awarded to members of the U.S. Armed Forces who have been killed or wounded in action against an enemy. It is also awarded to soldiers who have suffered maltreatment as prisoners of war. So that's what occurred. Purple Heart was first instituted, or it put into effect on this day, August 7th, 1782. Very nice, very nice. So, when I was a kid, my mother always told me to keep my hands out of my pockets. And if you're around my age, you might have had a similar experience. Why did mothers tell their boys to keep their hands in their pockets? Why would boys have their hands in their pocket? Well, we'd have loose change in there. You could jingle them around. You might have a little toy, you're feeling it in there. But mothers were always afraid that boys would play with themselves if they had their hands in their pockets. And I remember my mother saying something to me, like, get your hands out of your pockets. Why? Because. Well, yeah, but why? And she'd kind of hint that, well, you shouldn't be doing that. Like, what do you think I'm doing? You can hear the loose change I'm clinking around in my pocket. Well, people might think that you're doing something else. Oh, I don't care what other people think. That was my thought. I didn't dare say that to my mom like that. You didn't do that. But anyway, yeah. I just never worried about it. It took me many years to actually get out of the habit of clinking around coins in my pocket. What got me out of that? Well, we stopped using coins, right? We stopped. I mean, maybe some people still use them, but hardly ever do I see anybody using them, right? Any kind of cash. We're not a cashless society, but we're getting closer and closer all the time. So I just don't have that much stuff in my pocket. People sometimes ask me, will you do an EDC video, an everyday carry video? Like, that's boring. Nobody cares what I have in my pocket. I have the normal stuff, keys, maybe my AirPods. The most interesting thing, and it's not really that interesting, is my pocket knife that I carry with me every day. I really like this. Got this on Amazon, about $10. I like it. It's just something that's practical. I might need it for different situations. You never know. But anyway, pockets. That's what I want to talk about. The history of pockets. You might think that's weird, but no, it's not weird. It's actually interesting. A little weird. Yeah, okay, it is weird. I take that back. It is very strange. Listen to this. You may not believe this, but this is kind of strange. All right. Simple. And indispensable as pockets are, it's hard to imagine that they did not exist before the late 1500s. Money, keys, and personal articles were wrapped in a piece of cloth, an impromptu purse, and tucked into any convenient part of a person's costume. So that's what they called them, costumes. Not your wardrobe, not your whatever, costume. I think of a clown outfit. Maybe I look like a clown sometimes. If I ever got told someone liked my costume, I'd have to really kind of scratch my head and wonder about my sense of fashion. Anyway, back to the story here. One popular place for a man in the 1500s to carry his personal effects was his codpiece. Yeah, strange name. This gets worse. These frontal protrusions, which fell from fashion when their exaggerated size became ludicrous and cumbersome, originated as a convenient opening or fly to trousers. Oh my goodness, these pictures, man, of codpieces. You know what we're all thinking. They could be called something else. I'm not saying it. I'm not even putting it on the screen. Yeesh. Fashion of the day dictated that the fastened flap be stuffed with cloth, and it became an ideal place to carry the special cloth containing a man's valuables. When the codpiece went out of fashion, the cloth did not move far. It became a small bag drawn up at the top with a string that hung from a man's waist. The cloth was on its way to becoming the lining that is a pocket. The first pockets in trousers appeared near the close of the 1500s. They evolved in two steps. Another plane. At first, an opening was made as a side seam in a man's tight-fitting trousers. So they actually did wear these things. You know, you always wonder if artists were just perverted when they drew some of these figures on canvas. But no, they actually did wear tights. Really strange. Can you imagine getting away? No, some people do get away with it. And they shouldn't. Okay. Into the opening, a man inserted the cloth pouch containing his belongings. The independent pouch soon became a permanent sew-in feature. I should say, I can't say it too fast. Sew-in feature of trousers. Once introduced, pockets proved their convenience and utility. In the next century, they became a design feature of men's and women's capes and coats. At first, they were located down at the hem of an overcoat. Only later do they move up to the hip. So next time you slide your hand into your pocket, or someone else's, think about the history of the pocket. Be thankful that the pocket is not located where they tried to put it before, or not, they didn't try to put it, that is where they put it. And no, I couldn't do that. So if our mothers would have been unhappy about us playing with the change in our pocket, how do you think they would have felt if we would have done that with these cod pieces? I don't even like saying that. Okay, no, I kind of do. It's kind of funny. But it's bizarre. It's so perverted. Like people could justify anything, it seemed like, back in that time. You know, the perversion and immorality was just as rampant then as at any other time, but they dressed it up, right? They dressed it up. People are still trying to do that. They're just not as good at it anymore as I think they used to be. But there you go. I do have a quote of the day for you, and I think this might be helpful. Maybe not. Just give you something to remember. It's an old Arabic proverb, and it is, "The word you keep between your lips is your slave. The words you speak is your master." That's right. Maybe that should be word, not words. The words you speak is your master. Unfortunately, it's all too easy to be mastered by our words. And that has happened to me on quite a number of occasions. I hope that you can watch your words. Make your words your slave, not your master. All right, enough said about that. I hope you guys have gotten something out of this. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. All right, I'll see you in the next one. In the meantime, be wise.